GMGP, good morning, good people. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all decided to wake up with us. You're sick. You're sick in the head. There's a lot of fantasy football shows out there, but I promise y'all, they not like us. Brock Bowers, you looked a little quicker than fast. What does that even mean? Redraft, Dynasty, best ball, high stakes, we got you covered.
And that's MVS and Justin Watson.
With some of the dopest tools designed to help you cancel out the noise and dominate your leagues.
If there's a white wide receiver named Antoine, sign me up.
Maybe it's cultural. I don't know. In season or off season, rain, sleet, hail, and snow,
comma, semicolon, period, next sentence.
to bring you the most actionable and entertaining content on YouTube. You don't go buy the dip on the Titanic.
Quarterback that you love, D-Bro. One of the best values in fantasy football.
Prop bets with my man JRich.
Yes! Let's go!
So wipe the crust out of your eye, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake y'all asses up with Ray
And Jay.
in the morning.
My God.
How good is
Dude.
he? How good is he? Get it, GMGP. It is Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with myself and my brother from another mother. Y'all know who it is, the Canadian Jordan Richards. You can find him at your boy JRich. Get at me on all socials at RayGQ. This is Wake Up with Ray and Jay every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on the channel. And we got the people in the building. We got a building this morning, Jay. Garrison in here. What's popping with you, Garrison? Styley. Listen, man, y'all don't even know. You don't know, but my man Styley right here is helping improve the DD Fantasy Football website, and it is a lot of back and forth. It is a lot of back and forth. So big shout out to my dog Styley, who's working on something dope himself. Coming very, very soon. You all will enjoy that. But we got the people, JRich. Who else we got in the building? I see my girl Joe, Clyde. It's 6 a.m. when Ray says it's 6 a.m. That's right, Clyde. That's right, damn it. It's 6 a.m. when we start, baby. It's 8:07. We're kind of on time a little bit today. Who else we got in the building? I see Anthony, Joe, Daniel Perry, HK Survivor, Johnny Lillycrap. We got JR Enterprise in the building. What's up, JR? JR, what we gonna do today, baby? 26 class, you ready? JRich, ready to talk some 2026 top fives at the position? We got a show today, baby. How you doing?
I'm always good, Ray. I'm always good. But yeah, it's funny that today we're doing 2026. It's a great show for me. I won't have to be doing a whole lot of talking in this one. And I'm sure the people will be happy because they always say...
We're both talking on this one because I don't have a damn clue either. That's why we're relying on the great Jordan Reed from ESPN.
Hey, he's a great man. Interact with him multiple times. Good friend of the show. Always appreciate his work and especially his mock drafts because they provide tons of content for us. But Ray, do you want to get into the little bit of news before we get into the 2026 stuff? Because I know the people are excited. They've been asking for you to do some 2026 stuff. They want your thoughts. Yeah. But we do have a little bit of news. We got a little bit.
We do have a little bit. We've got a little bit, JRich. And one of the beautiful members in the chat, Dro C in the chat, said, last year we have to hear Karen Rodgers news. That is because what happened, JRich?
Well, he was on Pat McAfee just yesterday doing his usual spot, and he said that this is pretty likely to be his last season. And it's funny, if anyone who actually watched a bit more than simply this quote or him talking about his impending retirement after this season, it was pretty funny how he kind of took big shots at the media because everyone cares about what Aaron Rodgers is doing, you know, because he's a little bit weird, a little bit different, you know, a little bit more unique. And I think he seems excited to finally get out of that spotlight, but I'm curious if that's actually going to happen and he'll just kind of fade the way some players do. I just feel like for whatever reason, the big media has this infatuation with Aaron Rodgers that just may never, unfortunately, go away.
Ray, back, people talking about the angle switch up, Jay. Back to the roots here. We switched it around a little bit. Yeah, had to move some shit around in here. But yeah, he said this is, what is it, Aaron Rodgers, 41, 42 years old right now,
I think
Jay?
42 now, yeah.
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, how much more does he have left in the tank? We continue to talk about how impactful he could be for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, you know, his last hurrah, what do you expect? Knowing this, let's just say this is his last season, right? Pittsburgh, they've agreed, we're going to do this thing for 1 year. What's the chances or the likelihood that anybody else in Pittsburgh gets an opportunity to play quarterback? If he's stinking it up, do they switch and pivot to Will Howard to see what they have in the rookie? Do they pivot another direction, or is this going to be your guy weeks 1 through 18, regardless of the outcome?
I think he'd have to be so bad and injured to consider not playing, because even last year, we thought it would be his last game when he did that interview with Pam Oliver. I believe it was week 17, week 18, whatever it was. And they had like a little heart-to-heart just talking about his time in the NFL and how it maybe could be over. And he walked off the field with Randall Cobb, like all that kind of stuff. So we thought maybe there was a world where he would be done. And then now you have a situation where he's basically saying, like, this is pretty much my last year. This is going to be my swan song. And I just don't think if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers or Mike Tomlin, like, as bad as things may be, pulling him week 17, week 18, knowing it's his last season ever, he's a Hall of Fame player, like, I just don't think they're probably going to do that unless he's really, really injured, or again, they're like 4-12 going into the last game of the season. And it's like, Aaron, do you really want to play in this game, or can we see what Will Howard's got? Do you feel any differently about that? I mean, it just feels like for his last season.
Man. If things go off the rails, and I'm using week 17 because a lot of people play fantasy football and you're thinking about who could be available at the end for you. If they're not in the playoffs, if they are mathematically eliminated by the time we get to week 17, week 18, why not? If he's not coming back and Tomlin is going to be the head coach of the Steelers moving forward, why not see what you have in your young signal caller just to see if there's anything there? Is there anything here that we can work with? I know DK Buckeye loves that Will Howard, but we got to make sure that he fits within the Steelers organization. I don't know. I think him coming out and saying it it solidifies him being the guy. I do think there's a world where Pittsburgh they stink it up. They're not good. And they say, you know what, Aaron, you're gonna take a seat the last couple of weeks of the season, maybe.
I will say, Ray, that they do have the Ravens week 18. So you just think about the scenario where the Steelers are out of it, the Ravens are clinched. So what are we really doing here? No team really needs to play anybody important. No reason for Rodgers to play. So maybe that could play a situation out where you get Will Howard week 18, where the Ravens don't need the game and the Steelers obviously already out of it.
Yeah, just a little thought there. I'm going to the chat. Scribble says Steelers never look to the future. They are committed to this 500 season garbage. Rodgers will play, if healthy, all season. That's from our man Scribbles. Appreciate you popping into the show. No way Pittsburgh wins less than 8 games.
But do they win more than 10 games?
Here's the thing. If they're right at 8, that doesn't get them anywhere. You know what I mean? 8 wins doesn't get you
way
anywhere.
Too tough, man.
AFC's too tough. Do you have their schedule by chance, Jay?
I did just have it pulled up. Yeah. Do you want to try and run through it real quick?
Yeah, let's real quick. Run through it for the people, man.
So the Jets. Do they beat the Jets week 1?
Coin flip. Give them the win. Give them the win.
Seattle week 2. Sorry, I don't have the home and aways up.
Give them the win.
Wow, you're giving them the win.
Give them the win. Give them. They start off. They got good defense. They can play 2-0. 2-0. They start off 2-0.
Okay, 2-0. New England.
Win.
Yeah, they should win that game. Then they got the Vikings.
Loss.
Okay, so they're 3-1 going into their week 5 bye. Early bye for the Steelers.
Feeling good. 3-1. Feeling good.
Cleveland.
They lose that game. Somehow they lose the damn divisional game. They lose. They come off the bye. They get beat.
That's a home game,
Myles
though.
Garrett. They lose to Myles Garrett.
3-2 at Cincinnati.
Loss.
3-3. Green Bay Packers. But
loss.
Ooh, 3-4. Indy.
Win.
So that's what, 4-4?
4-4. Just keep going. I got the count.
At the Chargers.
Loss. 4-5.
Bengals at home.
Loss. 4-6.
At Chicago.
Loss. 4-7.
Home against Buffalo.
2 losses. 4-8.
At Baltimore.
Loss. 4-9.
Home against Miami.
Loss. 4-10.
At Detroit.
Loss. 4-11.
At Cleveland.
Win. They get the revenge. They split 5-11.
Week 18. Ravens clinched.
They win.
You got the backups in.
They win. What's that? 6 wins?
6 wins.
Maybe they win 7 somehow.
Let's be honest. 8-9 feels bold. Like you gave them the Cleveland. You gave Cleveland 1 win. Like that split with Cleveland. Split with Cleveland is fair. Maybe they could beat Miami. They could beat the Bears. I don't expect them to beat Cincinnati. And
Stanley
every other
said they're
win you
beating
gave
the Packers
them,
and the Bears. I don't know. They're not beating both of them. They're not clear in the NFC
I think
North.
they beat the Packers or the Bears. They probably lose to the Vikings. They probably lose to the Lions.
Yeah. We'll see. Well,
and imagine they lose to the Jets in New York week 1.
We went through this whole exercise to see if Will Howard's going to play. What are we doing? But we went through this whole thing to see when Will Howard was going to play. Jay, let's pivot. I don't want to talk Pittsburgh Steelers, Will Howard anymore. And I did see some people in the chat. Do you want to quickly address the CJ McCollum deal? Is that a needle mover for you? McCollum.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
In the spirit of NBA on the show, CJ McCollum moved for Jordan Poole, right? What do you think?
Honestly, the best part about this deal, right, is the combination of Jordan Poole and Zion Williamson was nicknamed Timon and Pumbaa. I loved that. That was too funny. I can't believe you don't think that's funny.
I don't.
You are terrible sense of humor.
Think it's funny.
That was so funny.
I'm impressed and happy that you find so much joy in that. But no, I didn't. I didn't think it was funny at all. Yeah, nothing really about the deal. Anything that you want to say about that?
Nah, much more interested in Porzingis being traded to Atlanta and Drew Holiday being traded to Portland because it cleared $180 million in luxury taxes.
People liked it, Joe. People liked it.
See? That's what I'm saying, man. That's
people
funny.
People liked it. Okay.
Timon and Pumbaa is hilarious.
James said a little racist to be.
Nah, the dude had a black face, so we're good. He's
said
not
a little
racist.
racist if we're just being honest, but okay. All right, let's move on. Jay, we're rolling out of at least a 24 class that looks to be, on paper, just great, right? You got 5 quarterbacks drafted early. The receivers were studs from 2024. For those of y'all who may not remember, that was the Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Marv, Neighbors, just rolled out of that rookie class. Incredible 24 draft. 2025, listen, running back plentiful. So many running backs to choose from. You had some quality receivers in this class that we hope could be pretty good. You had some good tight ends in this class, but most draft classes are sort of gauged and headlined by the QBs. And we did not have a strong quarterback class in 2025. No matter how you slice it, Cam Ward went number 1 overall, and then we had another first-round quarterback, and then after that, the next one, Tyler Shock, Dylan Gabriel, not a good quarterback class. So each draft class is sort of buoyed up by the strength of the QBs. And going into 2026, I can confidently say at least the pool of quarterbacks looks to be more promising in 2026 than we just had in 2025, and not nearly as locked in or ironclad as the 2024 class. So just holistically looking at these draft classes, we should be, the palette and the table should be a lot cleaner and nicer looking from a totality perspective, because the QB pool it's better than 25, Jay. The QB pool is better than 2025.
Yeah, no, I agree that it looks good now, but do you think there's a world where we'll get into the
we're highlighting the strengths. We'll get into the flaws. We're highlighting the strengths. On paper, it looks to be a deeper quarterback pool, right?
Yes, when Shedeur Sanders is not the leading candidate to be your QB1, you're probably in a good spot right now. You actually got some 5 stars, some talented guys. They've shown it for multiple seasons. Should be a pretty good class.
And on top of that, and I think this really, it needs to be thought of as we go through this list. It was Matt Miller and Jordan Reed ranking their top 5 players in the 26th class at each position. I think another driving and motivating factor for the perception and the sentiment around the quarterbacks, the rookie quarterbacks, is what's happening in the NFL with the veteran guys, right? And right now, you look across the NFL, all 32 teams, Jay, just off the top, think about all the retread quarterbacks that we have occupying starter roles in 25. Justin Fields, 3rd team, right? This is Bears, Steelers, now the Jets. We just talked about Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith. The list goes on with with some look at Cleveland. I mean, they're potentially Daniel Jeremiah. Did you hear Jeremiah's quote? I'm gonna try to pull this up. He believes that the starting quarterback in Cleveland is going to be one of Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders from week 1.
Really?
He believes it's going to be one of Shedeur or Gabriel from week 1. So you look up and down the NFL, and there are a lot of what I would call fringy type quarterbacks operating at the helm. I think this will impact what teams do in the draft. I think a lot of teams are like, I don't even want to play around with some of these rookies. And we saw what happened in 2025. So we'll go on the list, go through these quarterbacks, pull up some of the stats, and just have no, we're not dissing Geno. We're not dissing Geno. We're not dissing
we like
Geno. I'm not dissing any veteran quarterback. What I'm saying is the NFL is clearly saying we value that guy more than we do taking a Shedeur Sanders in round 1, a Dylan Gabriel in round 2, or what the advisory committee passed back along to a player like Drew Allar, who in January, there were thoughts that he could be damn QB1 in the class. Remember that? Remember
I remember it all too well.
Those conversations around Allar. So I think, if anything, Walt, I'm propping up the Genos, the Fieldses, even the Sam Darnolds, my God, to say the NFL's like, hey, man, we'll give this guy a shot. Like, I don't think it's changing. The NIL, the movement of these quarterbacks, I think it's going to be a weird time in college football, but let's pull up the list. So no, Walt, we're not dissing Geno at all, are we, Jay?
No, we actually like Geno quite a bit.
Yeah, we like Geno a lot.
He's probably a QB's me around for longer than people expect. And you even mentioned Kirk Cousins, who's also looking for a job, right? We know Joe Flacco's looking for a job. But, Ray, do you want to get into those top 5 quarterbacks? Because I don't think there'll be a lot of surprising names. The only one that I need you to really tell me about is number 3 on Miller's list, number 5 on Jordan Reed, Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, Fernando Mendoza. So we got Matt Miller's top 5 quarterbacks in 2026 and Jordan Reed. So Miller's top 5, Cade Klubnik, quarterback out of Clemson, Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback LSU, Fernando Mendoza, quarterback out of Indiana, Lenora Sellers, the dual threat quarterback out of South Carolina, and then Drew Allar, QB out of Penn State as QB5. Jordan Reed has Cade Klubnik, so they are in lockstep at the top with Cade Klubnik out of Clemson. Lenora Sellers is Reed's second-ranked quarterback in the summer. Garrett Nussmeier third, Drew Allar fourth, and Fernando Mendoza fifth. And Jay, I'm going to be honest with you, outside of just kind of watching Indiana play, I didn't know a lot about Fernando Mendoza because he wasn't there. He was at Cal with Jaden Ott last year, JRich. So this is a transfer. So a lot of people are like, who was Indiana Mendoza? I don't know. You don't know because he was at Cal last season, Jay. So here were his stats at Cal: 3,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 55th overall in QBR, 63.8 QBR. That was Fernando Mendoza's game at Cal. Transfers to Indiana, 6'5", 225. JRich. So yeah, this is a new transplant, right? This is a new quarterback in a new spot, taking his talents from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. But Reed actually talked about this on X and talked about just his physical tools, physical skills, his arm strength, and then moving from the Pac-10, from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. Bigger stage for him to perform at Indiana, and we know how good they were with was it O'Rourke last year?
Curtis Rourke, yeah.
Yeah, Rourke last year, so hopefully they continue that momentum. But talk about Cade Klubnik at the top. This was a guy in the old Devy spaces people wrote off, didn't think he'd be very good, and Matt Miller and Jordan Reed have Klubnik as their number 1 quarterback right now in the offseason.
I think it's a little surprising. I like Klubnik and his skill set. Obviously, very highly touted prospect. You see the numbers, 3,600 yards, 36 touchdowns, 6 picks. I'm just curious if it's really going to play out this way because for me, Nussmeier's kind of been the QB1. I think he's the most ready for the NFL, and especially his dad's an OC in the NFL. Like, Klubnik is a great talent. I just think that Nussmeier profiles as a better quarterback personally. So obviously still in the top 3 for both guys, but I think it's more surprising that it's a consensus Klubnik is our guy for now, right? And we'll see what happens obviously during the season, but I didn't think he was that far ahead of some of the other guys. That when you look at the list as a whole, I think the biggest thing for me is that you have a consensus 5, right? There's 5 quarterbacks that 2 analysts who obviously scout independently have determined like these are our top 5 guys. Klubnik being number 1 is great to start. But we'll see what happens this season at Clemson, because I do think that they have a lot of work to do to kind of push him up to that upper echelon, to be that projected top 5, number 1 overall pick, to be QB1. There is going to be a lot of competition. You know, you talked about Mendoza and Rourke. What's up?
No, I'm just reading the chat. No, keep going. You're on it. Yeah.
I was going to say that it'll be interesting to see what happens with Mendoza because of how good Rourke was at Indiana. And if Mendoza is better than Rourke was, maybe he can have an even better season because he completes almost.
Was he drafted?
Did he get drafted is a great question, but he completed 70% of his passes, 29 touchdowns, 5 picks, and 3,000 yards. If Mendoza can be a better version of that at Indiana, where we know they're obviously an ascending program, I do think there's a world where he could be pretty good. I just didn't expect him to be on this list. But yeah, Klubnik at 1 is surprising. Nussmeier is still my 1 going into it, but I think he's got to show it a little bit.
Let me just give you the experience. I mean, Klubnik, you want that completion percentage to rise. 63% in college. You'd like for that to be higher, but I mean, he's going to have 4 years of competition, 3 straight years starting, 3,600 yards, 36 touchdowns, and he ran for 7 TDs and 463 on the ground. Clemson. Stanley, shout out to Stanley in the chat. He said that, and Stanley is big into college football, says the Clemson QB is in a class of his own. So talking about Cade Klubnik being in a class of his own right now from the QB positions. Let me just read the write-up right here. Toughest player to rank, Drew Allar. Every quarterback in this class is tough to rank, but Penn State's passer is the toughest. He flashed brilliance with a big arm and good mobility, 6'5", 238-pound size. But his decision-making is very hit or miss, especially against top opponents. His ability to clean up mental mistakes will determine where his stock goes as a senior. Allar could be the top QB in this class or slip to day 3. My personal opinion, I just never saw it with him. I think the arm, the physical gifts are undoubtedly there. The physical tools are there, but I can say that about a lot of Penn State quarterbacks of the past. He's got all the God-given ability, but just there seems to be this lack of, I don't know if it's fire. I don't know what to call it, but there's just something that's always feels to be lacking with Drew Allar. I'll just say this. There's a player that's not on this list that I was looking at some stuff the other day on another transfer from Washington State, John Mateer. JRich, I don't know if you've seen this young man play. John Mateer. No. Who's going to be the starting quarterback for Oklahoma this year. Last year at Washington State, 3,100 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, only 7 picks. Also gave you 826 yards and 15 on the ground. So you're talking about a quarterback that can absolutely sling it. And he's huge. Like, his legs are massive, JRich. This is a player who played right down the street from me, Little Elm, Texas. So I've heard this name for a while, right? Was at Washington State last year. 64% completion percentage last year. You want to see that rise. But you're talking about a true dual threat playing in Oklahoma, SEC. This could be a big riser this fall. Trust me. John Mateer is going to be one of those players where people are like, holy shit. I'm excited about what this guy can do because he can run, and he's already shown a proficiency at delivering the ball from the pocket and making strikes.
Yeah, and I think that's where, you just look to the last Washington State quarterback that transferred to a big school on a big stage, right? And he made a name for himself pretty quickly in Cam Ward, who's obviously number 1 overall pick this year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him because, they referenced it in that write-up. He's obviously got the SEC schedule and week 2 non-conference game against Michigan. So he's going to have a tough test very early this season, but I completely agree on Allar. For me, it's the inconsistencies, right? And it's talked about a lot throughout his tape. There's certain times where he looks really good, but against top opponents is when you start to see the cracks in his profile and where the inconsistencies really start to show themselves. And with how much they lean on that running game, he should be a much better passer because there really isn't that much of a threat for them to pass the ball down the field because they don't have great pass-catching weapons. We obviously saw how much Tyler Warren meant to that team last season, and now they have to try and replace that guy as well. So this season for Penn State is a big one for that program for James Franklin, but I do think for Allar, it's not looking good, and I would not be shocked if he falls outside the top 5 by the time the NFL draft
Marcus, who you talking about?
Around.
Marcus says he must be talking about Mateer because he went to Oklahoma. Marcus said, I like him even though he went to the wrong school. For those of y'all that watch the show, this is UT man himself. Marcus Myers played for that natty national champion winning 05 UT Texas Longhorn team. Shout out to my dog Marcus, even though they took down my school, USC. I think Mateer is fun. Jason in the chat said it. You've seen Mateer play if you've watched Kyle Williams film. Anybody putting the ball where Kyle Williams was catching it, it was John Mateer. If it were me, Jay, I think Garrett Nussmeier would still be my top dog. Nussmeier would still be my top dog over Cade Klubnik, so I align more with Miller's kind of top 5. I think Klubnik would be there right at QB2. And then Lenore Sellers and the talent that he possesses, I think would probably be my third quarterback if I were doing some early rankings. Alar would not be inside my top 5. I think he's got a lot of work to do. He feels very Quinn Ewers-ish, in my opinion. Like
you know what he feels like, Ray?
You want more.
Little Will Levisy, right? The quarterback that he beat out at Penn State forced him to transfer to Kentucky.
I hope not. Let's move on to the running backs, though, JRich. Let's talk through the running backs because QB class got a lot of names there, a lot to figure out this fall at the quarterback spot. Running back probably even more ambiguous after maybe the top 1 or 2 or potentially not even your top 2. So let's go into it. RBs in 2026 to look forward to. Matt Miller's got Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame, number 1. CJ Baxter, running back from the University of Texas, as his RB2. Mekhi Hughes, running back at Oregon, at 3. Katron Allen, Penn State rusher, at 4. And the other Penn State running back, Nicholas Singleton, at RB5. Jordan Reed also agrees with Matt Miller with Jeremiah Love as RB1. He has Nicholas Singleton as RB2. Damond Claiborne, Wake Forest running back, at RB3. Quintrevion Wisner out of Texas. So Q Wisner out of Texas at running back 4, not CJ Baxter. And Jonah Coleman, Arizona transferred to Washington, back again. Big fan of Jonah Coleman's game. At RB5 for Jordan Reed. So again, there is no consensus anywhere right now outside of Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love, who last year rushed the ball 163 times, 1125, 17 touchdowns, averaged damn near 7 a pop, and that's to go with 28 receptions, 237 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Love, 6 foot, right around 205 pounds. Did not play well in the college football playoffs. He was dealing with some injury, man. He was hurt in that natty game versus Ohio State. He had the big knee brace on. I think there was something else ailing him towards the playoff run. But Jeremiah Love, the consensus RB1 right now. The toughest player to rank, CJ Baxter out of Texas. And the write-up says the redshirt sophomore returns after missing the 24 season with a torn right ACL. Although he'll be fresh, can he recapture that form that allowed him to rush for 659 yards and 5 touchdowns as a true freshman in 2023? Remember, this was supposed to be the guy to take over after Bijan Robinson took his talents to the NFL. He'll share carries with Wisner, who rushed for 1064 last season, which could create an interesting dynamic. So, Jay, looking at these top 5 running backs, how excited are you coming off of a 25 class where, we had like 20 running backs that we were excited about?
Yeah, it's a lot tougher this year, right? You know, I like Singleton, I like Katron Allen. I'm curious kind of what happens at Texas because we know they have a lot of talented, highly recruited backs, but they've really struggled with injuries, and obviously they can't even decide on a consensus here between Miller and Reed as to who the lead dog is, who's going to be better, and ultimately how this offense is going to look. So I think that's where I struggle, right? Is like, should I be excited or should I be cautiously optimistic that some of these guys can emerge and be guys that showcase what they could be at the NFL level? I did want to ask you about Jonah Coleman, because I know that you really like him, and so I kind of expect him to be a riser. Obviously plays on the West Coast, so we'll kind of see how that impacts him a little bit in terms of visibility. And then who you prefer between Singleton and Allen, because Reed doesn't even have Allen ranked.
Singleton.
And I think Singleton is the clear answer for me as well.
For me, if I had to pick between Nick Singleton, I like Katron. You know who that... It reminds me, and let's just look at the numbers. Last year, Singleton, 172 carries, right at 1,100 yards, 12 TDs, 6.4 a tote. But here's what gets me so excited about what Singleton can bring to the table for an NFL offense. The receiving numbers, Jay. 41 receptions, 375 yards, and 5 touchdowns last year, following up a sophomore campaign where he caught the ball 26 times, 308 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he was his team's primary kick returner. So you're talking about this is a big running back, okay? Singleton is, 6 foot, 225 pounds, and he hasn't had one carry in his one season in his collegiate career over 175 rush attempts so far. I mean, you're talking about a 5-star physical freak with crazy athleticism that has been used very sparingly in college. And you compare that with Katron Allen, another big back, 5'11", 230, 220 attempts this year. Yardage right around the same, lower TD number, lower yards per attempt for Katron Allen. But he doesn't catch the ball. He's not a 18 for 153, 2 touchdowns. He feels like the Lindell White of this offense,
yes.
right? I'm watching Katron, and I'm like, he could be a good NFL, but I'm not seeing a difference maker at the next level. Nicholas Singleton can absolutely be a difference maker at the next level. And in my early ranks, he'd be RB2 in the class, potentially RB1. I think there's I like Singleton a lot. I don't know why, and I'll ask Reed why Reed has him at 5, or Miller's got him at 5, Reed's got him at 2. I'm more in line with Reed here. I think Singleton is the one in my opinion. I think his skill set, he's a little more fluid than Jeremiah Love. I like him. I like Singleton a lot, Jay. And Jonah Coleman, fun player. I don't know if you saw the body transformation of Jonah Coleman, but he lost a lot of weight over the offseason because he's got that Mike Davis build. He's short and compact, physical runner, not going to wow you with the athleticism or speed, but a really good player.
Yeah, and then the last guy we should talk about, because obviously I've never heard of Mackie Hughes, but he's transferred from Tulane to Oregon. And this is a player, Ray, you pulled the numbers, 1,400 yards, 15 touchdowns, 5.3 a pop, and does some bit of the receiving work as well. I have to imagine if he's an Oregon running back, he's probably fast, he's probably quick, and he probably can move in and out of breaks very, very quickly. So I think this is a player that, depending on what happens at Oregon, if he's the lead dog at Oregon, he's probably going to get a lot of exposure and play very, very well. So if he has a big season this year, he could be a massive riser. A little bit in the receiving game, 19 receptions, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns last year, 9.3 a pop. Still decent yards per carry. Probably wants to be a little bit higher considering he played in Tulane. But he played some tough opponents, 5'11", 210, great profile. If he has a good season, like 1,400, 1,500 yards this year, maybe 15 to 20 touchdowns. I mean, you look at what he did 2 years at Tulane, 2,700 yards, 22 touchdowns. Like, he could do anything similar to that at Oregon. I mean, my goodness, he'd probably be a top 5 running back for sure.
I'm looking at the chat, and there are a lot of people who, I agree with Walt. Walt said it. Singleton's a 3-down back. Hell yeah. Absolutely. And they're not pounding him into the ground this season at Penn State. So I'm absolutely with you. I think he's a 3-down back. I really do. I would be very comfortable having Nicholas Singleton as RB1 over the summer, man. Like, pretty comfortable with that. Yeah, Hughes is very good. Hughes is a very good running back. So good get by Oregon picking up Hughes. Had too many off games against better teams for me. We'll see how he plays at Oregon this year.
That's how it seems, yeah. When he played competition, he struggled a little bit, but that's what happens.
That's part of his team too, right? So we'll see.
Playing at Oregon, that's not going to happen. They'll have the better offensive line, right?
Can he capitalize on that? And Joe's saying these guys are big. Not as exciting though. Like, realistically, it's not as exciting of an RB class today as we just came off of in 2025. Like, everyone kind of knew, hey, there's a lot of running backs coming out.
But to be fair to Joe, though, right, they were kind of tiny. Like, they were smaller than we remember these big-time running backs being. And so if we get more, like, Love is going to be a prototypical running back. Singleton will be. Even Katron Allen, if he gets decent draft capital, like, big size running backs that are going to
Let me show you how big Jonah Coleman is. Right? Just so y'all know, he's 5'9", 230. That's why I said he's got that Mike Davis build. I mean, he's just a bowling ball of muscle, and he's got receiving chops. I mean, back-to-back seasons with 20-plus receptions for Jonah Coleman. College, yeah. I mean, if there was a name, the two hammers in this class are Katron and Jonah Coleman. I mean, they will. You got Quentin Joyner, former USC run. There's a lot of good running backs, but nothing outside of Singleton and Love right now. Those are like the top guys, and I'm with Marcus. Having CJ Baxter at 2 coming off of ACL reconstruction surgery seems a little bullish by Matt Miller. All right, we're going to get into the wide receivers, the tight ends, go through some of the other position players just to get a holistic look at the class. right after the break. Hit the thumbs up button, like the content, and we'll be right back. Welcome in, everybody, for another stream over here on Bleacher Report, NFL Daily. You can find JRich and I every single week here on this app.
The moment I say it, they'll say, oh, yuck. And it's got to be Najee Harris, right?
That world is in an alternate timeline somewhere in the multiverse. It ain't here on Earth 616 or whatever. It ain't here. JRich and I are on every single Thursday, 7 p.m. Appreciate y'all being here. This is Wake Up with Ray and Jay every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hit the thumbs up button, like the stream, subscribe to the podcast feed, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this after on the replay, make sure you sub to the channel, show some love, show some support. JRich, you and I were in an auction startup draft yesterday, my friend. It is not often we get to discuss our fantasy football teams, but we were in an auction startup draft. Best Ball with one of our supporters. He's one of the biggest sneaker influencers probably in the world. Foamer. Foamy, yeah. Mr. Foamer Simpson. Shout out to my dog Foamy. But he asked for us to participate in this Dynasty startup. JRich, you wanna grade? See if the people want to grade the teams. I gotta log in. I gotta log in to Sleeper on the phone. But you want to get our teams? You've got a monster, JRich. Can you just talk about what happened in this auction startup?
So I had a plan, Ray. You know me with auctions. I always have a plan.
You do have a good plan.
I had value set for every player, regardless of how good, how bad. And for people who aren't familiar, Ray, what I did, I went and logged into ddfantasyfootball.com, where I'm lucky enough to have a membership. I went and I ran the war data for the league. I downloaded all the information. I ran it through ChatGPT to give me approximate values. Then I went into Keep Trade Cut, and I grabbed those numbers, and I put them all together, and it gave me an aggregate for how much I should value these players, both based off their war production in a per game and total season basis, along with their current approximate dynasty value. And that is a great way to win an auction, because when you see my team, you will probably be like, holy shit. But it was a fun draft. It was a fun draft, and I really enjoyed it.
Let me give the people your team, JRich, and what you were able to pull off in this auction. I think it's fun to show the folks what we do whenever we do it. And you have a very good team, my friend. So let me pull that up real quick. Share screen. All right, here's JRich's squad. It's Best Ball. Here's his team. He's got Baker Mayfield, QBs. Baker Mayfield. He's got Derrick Henry at running back spot, Josh Jacobs, T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams, DJ Moore, of course, Alvin Kamara. Oh, those are his starters right there. It's super flex. What is it? Start 11, start 10. That's his starting lineup. Here goes his bench. Matt Stafford, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Tua at quarterback. Little light at the QB, JRich. But got Mixon, James Conner, David Montgomery, and Najee Harris, along with Travis Etienne, Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley, Cortland Sutton, Brandon Ayuk, Rashid Shaheed, David Njoku, and Mark Andrews. That's JRich's squad. Best Ball. That's a good team,
That's
J-Rich.
the team. That's the team. I don't know if it's Best Ball, but yeah,
it's lineup?
I think it's lineup. So I have a lot of start-sit decisions to make
every single week. You got a lot of
start-sit
decisions. You got a lot of start-sit decisions. OGQ's lineup roster from last night. I've got Justin Herbert, Devon Achane, Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Chuba Hubbard, Tyrone Tracy, Brock Purdy, Michael Penix, Geno Smith, Dak Prescott, Michelle Tuden, Ollie Gordon, DeAndre Swift, Jordan Mason, Zach Charbonnet, Jalen McMillan, Franklin, Thornton, Christian Kirk, Dobbs, Calvin Austin, QJ, Jake Ferg, Evan Ingram, and Isaiah Likely. There's some teams in here who have one quarterback, JRich, in Superflex. One QB.
Good thing we have 5 each.
Right, we got about 5-6 quarterbacks each. But yeah, you built an absolute freaking monster of a team.
I should have. The worst part is that I could have had Allen or Jackson and maybe even both. And still would have had the same team.
You were a little cheap at the beginning of that. Let's see what the people think about that JRich roster. Yeah, QB Horde. QB Horde. It was auction, Stanley. He said, what pick you had?
Yeah,
it was auction.
It was auction.
It was auction. Yeah, it wasn't best ball. So you're a little bit,
Yeah.
you got a lot of decisions that you're going to have to make.
Well,
and Josh Barr said, my team is better for lineup. I think I got a good squad. I've already got QB offers because some teams literally have one QB, and they effed up in that auction, Jay. You got a good squad, though. Got a good squad. Let's get back to the class because I saw my friend Marcus Mosier talking about how piss poor pathetic the wide receiver class looks here in 2026. He was on social media talking about that yesterday, and I can't disagree. The wide receiver crop right now in 2026, Jay, would probably be the weak spot. I even think the wide receivers are not, they're not where you want them to be right now. We need some new candidates to emerge this season, and there are a couple of names that are not on this list. But let's pull it up and talk through top 5 receivers. So here we go. Matt Miller's top 5. You have Antonio Williams, wide receiver out of Clemson, very good player. Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. Eric Singleton Jr., who is a wide receiver for Auburn, played at Georgia Tech last year. Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington. And Carnell Tate from The Ohio State University. Jordan Reed, as my boy Jacoby Lane out of USC, is wide receiver 1. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver 2. So there's some symmetry there. Antonio Williams 3, Carnell Tate 4, and Denzel Boston 5. So pretty much they have the same players inside of their top 5, give or take a Jacoby Lane and an Eric Singleton Jr. Antonio Williams, the top dog. So let's just look him up, see what his stats were last year. 5'11", 190-pound wide receiver, 75 receptions, 904 yards, and 11 touchdowns in 2024. And Jordan Reed's top wide receiver, Jacoby Lane, 6'4", 195 pounds, 43 receptions, 525 yards with 12 touchdowns. The write-ups with this, and there's a player that the chat talked about earlier, Elijah Surratt, we'll get to in a minute. Toughest player to rank, Jacoby Lane. Jordan Reed said, I have the 6'4", 195-pound redshirt sophomore ranked higher than everyone and will continue to reside on that island. But he is a polarizing prospect who has had many scouts needing to see more. Despite 12 touchdowns last season, Lane only had 528, and he was held below 50 yards in 8 of USC's 30 games. There isn't a true wide receiver 1 in this class yet. So with a bit more consistency, Lane has the opportunity to rise and be the first receiver off of the board. USC has a really good track record of getting wide receivers in the NFL for a long, long time. Back to probably when you weren't even watching college football, Jay, but they are wide receiver factory. Get you in the league, and they're probably going to be pretty good once you get to the next level. Player outside the top 5 to watch, Elijah Surratt, Indiana. The 6'2", 210-pound Surratt has big breakout potential, especially with the quarterback transferring in from Cal, which we talked about earlier, Fernando Mendoza. Surratt had 53 receptions for 987 yards and 8 touchdowns last season and fits the mold of Texans star wide receiver Nico Collins with excellent body positioning and tough hands in traffic, says Matt Miller. So we got a Nico Collins comp for Elijah Surratt. Jacoby Lane, top dog. We've got Antonio Williams and a bunch of receivers that people have probably never heard of, Jay.
I mean, Ray, number 2 on both these lists is Jordan Tyson. I watched the Arizona State versus Texas game, and I've never heard of Jordan
Don't
Tyson
know what number he wore. You couldn't even
life.
tell. You don't know who he is, huh?
The only question I have for you, Ray, are you familiar with Jordan Tyson's game?
A little bit,
because there's 2 players that went to Arizona State.
I know.
Approximately 6'1", 195.
Yep.
He can be one. He can be the other. Mm-hmm. It's Brandon Ayuk and N'Keal Harry. And we're telling me a player has 75 receptions for 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 14.7 a reception. That just about profiles to what you got out of Brandon Ayuk and N'Keal Harry. And they had 2 completely different careers in the NFL, and we can blame Bill Belichick for part of that. But do you think he profiles as maybe one of Brandon Ayuk or N'Keal Harry, or what would be another way you would describe his game? Seems like a bit of a deep threat overall.
Well, here's the answer as to why you didn't see him, JRich, because he wasn't on the field. He was hurt. So your eyes did not. You're okay. Like, you're right? You know what I'm saying? You didn't see him. You don't remember. He was injured at that time, Jay. But if you look at the hype that the QB is getting right now from Arizona State, and a lot of people think he could be the top quarterback with a strong season this fall. He's a good player, man. I think you look at this class right now, like Antonio Williams' game. He's been one of those names in the early Devy streets for a while.
Long time.
I'm a USC homer, so I've seen Jacoby Lane a lot. Am I ready to say he's like the top wide receiver in the class? Probably not. And then you still have a lot of other names. I think Carnell Tate's a great name to put in there, right? We're still a year away from the real wide receiver from Ohio State that people want, Jeremiah Smith. But Carnell Tate's a good player. And if you're talking about a rise from the mystique and the aura around Ohio State wide receivers, I think Carnell Tate's going to be in a position to succeed this fall and really elevate his draft stock. It's a tough group right now, and a lot of it is going to be dependent on the QB play. What's Mateer going to do at Oklahoma? You got Deion Burks there, Singleton transferring from Georgia Tech, getting out of that offense. How are things going to materialize in Auburn? And there's always going to be a player or two or three that just kind of come out of nowhere and put themselves on the map. And I've talked about this on the show multiple times, and I highly encourage anybody out there, just do it. It's just a fun exercise. Go look up way too early 2025 NFL mock drafts. Go look up way too early 2024 NFL. Go back and look at the names of the players who were being discussed as the top of the positions this time prior to this most recent draft. None of them. Jay, Abdul Carter was not the number one edge. Cam Ward was not mocked in anybody's first round at all. Anybody. ESPN, Bleacher Report, no Cam Ward. You know who wasn't the top player at their position this time last summer, JRich? Ashton Genty. No Ashton Genty. Go look it up. It was OG.
Really? Ashton Genty.
It was Ollie Gordon. So yes, a lot of this is going to change. But I think the good thing about it is kind of it gives you an idea of what potentially is coming down the hatch. What you're kind of banking those 26 chips on, strong quarterbacks, probably a couple of good running backs. I think you'll get a few. You're not going to get the depth that we just had in 2025. And you're hoping that you get a couple of receivers that rise up and put themselves on the map to be a viable top 32 pick, top 40 pick, top 50 pick come 2026. But the receiver position right now is absolutely a weak link in this 26 draft prospect class.
Yeah, it's funny because I think looking at this more and more, one of the things that is so apparent is like it's difficult to project what a player is going to do because there's so many moving parts on all these teams. Half the running backs are transfer running backs going to new teams. Then the receivers, they're bringing in transfer quarterbacks. Like Carnell Tate's going to have a new quarterback this year once again, right? And so it's like, how can we possibly project all of these players unless they're very, very elite? Like a Jeremiah Love, we know he's going to be good. When their situations are so consistently changing, it truly comes down to is, what have you done for me lately? And how great was your last season? Go look at Matthew Golden. He was basically nothing heading into last season. And he ended up being a first-round pick over what he did basically over the stretch of 3 or 4 games.
Golden, that's a great one. I mean, nowhere in.
Great playoff run. Sony Michel, great playoff run. Again, he was a bit more highly touted because he's a Georgia running back. But Golden is a out-of-nowhere first-rounder, especially at the wide receiver position. So maybe we get another one.
I mean, I think Golden was an out-of-nowhere first-rounder. You can go back to 24. Ricky Pearsall was an out-of-nowhere first-rounder. Leggett was getting some steam. Like he wasn't out of nowhere. He was out of nowhere, but he always was kind of like I think he was riding some of the Debo highs.
He was a second rounder, right? He was he should be a second rounder.
Yeah, Leggett was a first rounder.
But I'm saying he was getting hyped up as a second rounder versus Pearsall, I would say was closer to the third round.
Do you remember who was getting hyped to the high heavens from the 24 wide receiver class? Was drafted damn near in the first round, but the first week or two of the college football season,
because Keon
Coleman
went off.
Was like wide receiver.
He had 3 touchdowns the first 2 weeks, right?
People were like, "Oh, he's wide receiver 1, athletic freak," and so a lot is subject to change. This was interesting. Alex said, as a Tech fan, we weren't too upset with Singleton leaving. I like Eric Singleton, smaller, shiftier player. I see some people talking about Zachariah Branch, the USC transfer that is now at Georgia, I believe.
Is he at Georgia now?
I don't think so.
Well, you don't rock with him?
I don't think I just don't think he's a good receiver. I think he's a dynamic athlete. I just don't think he's a good receiver. I see a lot of people hyping up Mekhi Lemon, USC. I like Lemon as well. I think Lemon is a talented receiver. It's wide open. Everybody in the chat saying it is wide open. And then here's a comment from Chris Hundreds M. Ray and Jay, do you guys play Underdog daily? Best ball by any chance? I do. Every day. I'm on there every day. I don't think JRich is allowed to play. I don't think you have access, do you?
I can't play Underdog.
Yeah, JRich can't play. So I'm on there every day, Chris. Every day. GQ Honcho. If you see me in the room, that's the name.
He was asking about baseball, right? He was asking about baseball.
Oh, baseball. Fantasy Underdog baseball? Oh, hell no.
Baseball.
Shit, no. Oh, I don't do that, man. I don't know what I'm doing. They're going to take my money in there. I'll watch it, but I can't play it on Underdog right now. No. What else do we have in the chat? Is Bond still having legal trouble? Not going through that. Damn, y'all got some addicts in this chat. Yeah. I mean, Justice said, damn, we got some addicts. This crew loves college football. I mean, this is the chat. If it's NFL draft, if it's college football related, there are some true sickos in this chat that love this kind of content. That this is what they are here for. So we got to give the people what they want. Let's quickly just go through. Let's tie a bow on these receivers, Jay. Carnell Tate. Tate's pretty good. I like Carnell Tate.
Good size, but
6'3", 191. I mean, 52 for 733 in that offense last year. He's probably going to be. It's him and Smith, right? Him and Smith
should be a 1,000-yard receiver. We should expect it probably from Tate if he's going to be a top 3-round draft pick.
Yeah, he probably should be a 1,000-yard receiver this year. All right, let's go through quickly. I just want to look at some of the other positions. Is that cool? We go through that.
Yeah.
Tight ends. You got Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt. The Sadiq guy from Oregon, the big player, he looks athletic, but I mean, I don't freaking know about tight end. I'm not even going to begin to start here. I don't know who this is from Texas, but clearly probably pretty good. Max Clare, the only reason I know him is I believe he was at Purdue last year because I had him on Underdog BBM Best
that
Ball
is correct,
Mania.
right?
Yeah, I think, Purdue. Yeah, now he's at damn Ohio State, so he's probably going to be pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
Probably pretty good. So, O-tackles, you've got a Miami O-tackle, you got a Utah tackle, Caden Proctor out of Alabama. I think a lot of people know that name. He was a highly touted guy. Look at just Utah. Just Utah O-linemen inside the top 5. So I don't know who the hell's playing quarterback or running the ball at Utah this fall, but they got 2 offensive linemen.
Cam Rising, right? What do you mean?
No, I don't think Cam Rising's playing anymore. I think Rising retired.
Did he retire?
I'm almost positive he retired. I'm almost positive. Got some guards, Missouri, Alabama, A&M. None of us know guards. Centers, we'll get to that position later. Edge rushers, quickly. TJ Parker out of Clemson. They got some dogs at Clemson. This year you got Patrick Payton out of LSU there. TJ Parker, again, number 2 on Jordan Reed's top 5 list. And then Ruben Bain out of Miami, man. Young, raw player, JRich, but the athleticism is
sacks?
crazy. Yeah.
Who is this, Shamar Stewart?
Stop. He had 7.5 the year before. Cut it out. He had 7.5 the year before, so he's doubled up.
Parker's
Shamar
gross,
Stewart.
Though.
Yeah, Parker's
is very good.
Parker is very good. Yeah, Parker is very good. You like that? After 5.5 sacks as a freshman, he gets you 11 sacks with 6 forced fumbles in his sophomore season. Pretty damn good.
That's a game wrecker right there.
JRich, pretty damn good. And Patrick Payton played at Florida State, transferred to LSU. Peter Woods, Clemson's just going to have a nasty defensive front. I mean, this kid, Peter Woods, is massive. JRich, 6'3", 315, and can move. 3 sacks last year. They've got a nice defensive front at Clemson this fall. And then you get to the linebackers. If you don't know who Anthony Hill Jr. is, you are going to get an inside linebacker drafted inside the top 15, JRich. He will be a top 15
everyone says
pick.
he might even go top 10 if the class is weak enough,
I'm being
right?
I'm being conservative when I'm saying top 15. I'm being conservative, but you know how a lot of people say that the traditional inside linebacker position is devalued until one of these cats roll around. So hopefully Anthony Hill Jr. stays healthy this fall because this is the making of a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. Clemson, more Clemson. Avion Terrell. Do you know who this is, JRich?
Got to be AJ's brother, right?
It's
when I saw the list,
Terrell's
I was like,
younger brother. That is correct. And he is one of the top-rated
cornerbacks.
Clemson. Yep, Clemson. I mean, it's just a lot of good players. This is going to be a good team this fall. Dabo Sweeney's got it together. A lot of players. Malik Muhammad out of Texas. Colorado's got a guy in there.
Yeah, Malik Muhammad's good too.
I just wanted to go to here because this safety position is nasty. Kamari Ramsey out of USC, a player that I thought would be in this draft class, went back to school. He's one of the top-ranked safeties. You've got Michael Taffy from Texas. He's a good player, number 16. And then you've got what's going to be a top 5 pick in Caleb Downs, the free safety, strong safety, whatever safety position he wants to play out of the Ohio State. Caleb Downs is going to be a top 5 pick, top 10 pick come 2026. Really, really good safety prospect. So when you're looking at just some of the other positions and how this draft class is going to shape up, you've got some really, really good defenders, especially in the back half. I love this secondary group with some of these cats here at safety and cornerback. Your defensive front, you got a big boy in the middle. You've got edge rushers, O-line, and interior offensive line. We'll figure more of that out as we go. But it's early, JRich, early. A lot of fantasy relevant players yet to be discovered. I will put it that way. I think there's some obvious names at the top, but after that, it's going to be a lot of wait and see and figure it out this fall.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on what happens at quarterback. That's going to, as you kind of led into all of this, what's going to determine whether we think it's a strong draft class or not. But it's definitely leaning towards a stronger defensive class than offensive class versus kind of we've seen in the past few seasons where we have seen some pretty strong offensive classes. There's going to be good edge rushers, good D linemen as a whole. Obviously some linebackers, definitely some defensive backs that come out that are very, very strong. So, and that's where, when you look to the strengths currently, we're going to see players emerge across the board. It's not just going to happen offensively, right? And so you look to where it's already strong. I do think it will be a pretty solid draft class as a whole, but I think it's leaning more the defensive side this year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Marcus brought up Kevin Concepcion at A&M if they can get him the ball. That's the thing. I guarantee there are some names. Isn't there who's the LSU receiver? Anderson? You've got Deion Burks out of Oklahoma. There are a lot of I still think there are a lot of names left to be discovered because of the movement, right? Kevin Concepcion, he was balling at North Carolina State prior to.
I think LSU got Barry and Brown. I forgot about that. And they got Nick Anderson is the other guy that they have.
Yeah, Nick Anderson transferred from Oklahoma. So we got to wait. And you know who wasn't on the list, Jay? No Carson Beck. No Carson Beck was on the list. He wasn't. I'm just saying, wasn't on the list for anybody.
Surprise.
There are just a lot of names that have moved around that I think we've forgotten about. I don't know how Castigliones, the Boston College quarterback, I believe he transferred to Florida State. I don't think he's very big, so I don't know about the NFL upside, but there's just a lot of movement that's going to impact the outcome of some of these players. I'm excited. I'm ready to move on to a new group of players. I'm ready for college football to start. I think the game comes out here soon. So it's going to be exciting to watch some of the guys progress this season, and the chat seems to love this shit. So I love it. They love it. I love it. And I'm with Marcus, man. I don't know about Barry and Brown, man. I think he's
but we're gonna see that speed with a quarterback who can get him the ball, right?
It's good for Nuss.
That's where we'll see.
It's good for Nuss.
Because we've seen Blazers go very high in the NFL draft, whether people like it or not. So
yeah, Gene is saying pass on Barry and Brown. He's got the speed. It could be good for Nussmeier, right? It could be good for Garrett Nussmeier. So that's what I'm excited about. Yes, Concepcion got hurt. Crazy as safety is getting top 3 pick hype.
I mean, Hamilton was like a top 5 pick early in the summer, right? It was just when the draft ultimately came around, he fell like linebackers and safeties tend to do in the NFL draft. But yeah, at the time, Hamilton was like a top 5 pick, top 3 pick projected because he's that good. And I mean, you're already seeing it in the NFL. So don't be surprised if Caleb Downs is in people's top 5s early. Maybe he falls, maybe he doesn't. It's going to depend on the strength of the class.
Yeah, I mean, some people, Ricky said it, some people have Downs 101. NFL draft 101. I mean, it's all going to hinge on the quarterbacks. Like, do any of these guys significantly elevate their play to say, I'm the clear-cut dog? Whether that's Nuss, Klubnik, Alar, Sellers, Mendoza, Mateer, whomever it is. I think that's what because you can't pass on a talent like Downs. Like, he is that freaking good. Like, he is incredible. He's incredible. Yeah. Hit the music, Jay. We had I think we had a super chat we got to get to from Stanley. Oh, easy. Stanley. $2 super chat from Stanley. I'm Jeremiah Smith. I like Ryan Williams, but it ain't
Ryan Williams.
And it ain't, no. And I'm going to say this. it's not just buying into that like Jeremiah Smith, the size, the speed, his polish.
He is who Marv was supposed to be, Ray. This is your Marvin Harrison.
I don't want to
Jr.
hear that shit today.
Jeremiah Smith.
Everybody said Marv was the greatest receiver prospect to ever live.
Well,
now
anymore.
Smith is who Marv was supposed to be.
Is,
but I would say
Smith the greatest wide receiver prospect we've seen in the last, let's say, 10 years? I'm trying to give you like maybe before, like after Calvin.
like prospect.
Probably. Yeah, like better than Chase, better than, you know, whoever your next best prospect is, like in the last 10 years or so. He's pretty damn good. Julio, AJ Green.
I mean, to
right?
come in as a true freshman and go 76, 13, 1,315.
You don't do that at Ohio State. Like nobody does.
I don't think
Marv didn't do that. JSN didn't do that. Garrett Wilson didn't do that.
I don't think Julio Jones did that at Alabama. I remember coming out of Hoover,
and he was the only show in town.
Yeah, let me go Julio's freshman season. Yeah, freshman season 58, 924 and 4.
But Alabama QBs back then, right?
Yeah,
they
well.
They hand the ball off and they throw it to the tight end, and that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say he's got to be. He's got to be. I feel like I'm prisoner of the moment saying that now, but to do what he did as a true freshman, I don't know how you would have many receivers ahead of Jeremiah Smith. Okay? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
All right, get us up out of here.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe. We will be on Bleacher Report tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
No, we're early.
Talking.
I think we're an hour early.
6 p.m. Yeah,
6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow.
Eastern Standard Time. Talking running backs that could finish in the top 12. We got like 10 names for you, so come in, join the chat, talk shit, have fun, get excited. It'll be a fun show. And then Friday, of course, we'll be back once again. And for everyone who's still tuning in, Ray, 2:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Pirates versus Brewers, Skeens versus Mizorowski. Big pitching matchup between two young stars in baseball, so definitely watch it.
Big baseball. We got baseball tryouts tonight, Jay, so I'll probably miss
Let's go.
We got baseball.
It's at 2. It's at 1 o'clock, bro.
Oh, okay,
afternoon game for you.
Okay, my
check
bad.
it out.
We'll be there.
You're
We'll
good.
be there. Appreciate y'all being in the building. Pull up on Friday. Go to DDFFB, and we'll see y'all soon, man. Have a great Wednesday. We out. Peace.